I want to start today with a concept that I think we have all felt, but maybe haven't put a name to. You know, the uncanny valley.
In robotics, sure.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of revulsion you get when a robot looks almost human, but not quite.
Yes,
It's the almost that makes it creepy.
exactly. Well, I think there is a linguistic version of that, a communication uncanny valley. It happens when you are speaking to someone who, technically speaks your language.
Right.
The grammar is right, the words are recognizable, but the meaning is it's off. Something feels wrong.
That is a fascinating way to frame it. You aren't struggling with a foreign language like Mandarin or Arabic, where the barrier is obvious and you expect it.
No.
You are struggling with this invisible barrier of cultural intent, of shared meaning.
Exactly. And that is where we're living today. We're crossing the pond to look at the deceptive, treacherous, and honestly, the hilarious divide between British and American English.
And we should be clear from the top, this isn't about the simple stuff.
No, not at all. We aren't talking about spelling color with a U or tire with a Y.
That's kid stuff. That's level 1.
We are digging much, much deeper. We are looking at the social minefields, the moments where you think you are being polite, but you're actually being rude.
Or where you think you're expressing passion for your job, but you're actually confessing to a substance abuse problem to your boss.
The stakes are surprisingly high. And we are basing this discussion on a really rich text today. It's a transcript from the Advanced Learner Studio featuring hosts Emma and John.
And they just wrapped up a series on what they call the subtle art of social interaction. This final part is all about etiquette, arguing, and regional identity.
It's just a fantastic source.
What stands out to me about Emma and John's approach in this source materials is that they treat language as a survival skill. It's not academic.
No, it's practical.
They aren't just teaching vocabulary lists. They are trying to save the listener from, social death. They argue that traditional textbooks fail specifically because they strip away the messiness of real life.
And real life is messy. So our mission today is to decode those hidden rules. We're going to look at the greetings that induce panic attacks, the slang that gets you fired, and the absolute chaos of British dialects.
It is less of a language lesson and more of a psychological profile of two nations separated by a common tongue.
So let's jump right in with the very first interaction you have with a human being, the greeting. You walk into a room, you see a friend or a colleague, and you say hello.
Section 1, the greeting paradox.
So Emma, in the source material, describes this scenario. She's in London, she walks into a room, and someone looks her in the eye, maybe a colleague, maybe an acquaintance, and says, "You all right?"
Or sometimes even less, just a nod and all right.
Right. And to a British ear, that is the default setting. It is the most neutral, standard way to acknowledge another person's existence. It's like verbal wallpaper.
It barely even registers as a question.
But let's pause and look at this through the American lens. Because I have to tell you, the first time this happened to me, I had a visceral, physical reaction.
What happened? What did you feel?
Panic. Pure, unadulterated panic. Because in American English, if you ask someone, "Are you all right?" it is a specific, targeted question triggered by an observation.
Right, it means I see evidence to the contrary.
Exactly. It implies that I look not all right. My internal monologue just goes into overdrive. It goes something like this. Oh, God. Do I look sick? Is my face pale? Am I sweating? Is my hair standing up?
You immediately start scanning your own body for faults.
100%. Do I have spinach in my teeth? Why are they worried about me?
I'm suddenly reviewing my sleep history from the last week.
You're running a self-diagnostic.
Yes. I felt fine when I left the house, but maybe I look like death.
But here is the thing, and John points this out beautifully in the source. The British speaker isn't looking at my face at all, are they?
Not really. They aren't diagnosing you. This is what linguists call a phatic expression.
Phatic. Can you break that down?
Yeah, phatic communication is speech that's used to establish a social connection rather than to communicate information. Think of it like a digital ping.
Like on a computer network. Checking a server connection.
That's the perfect analogy. It's a TCP/IP ping. When a Brit says, "You all right?" they are sending a tiny packet of data just to see if you are online.
Just to confirm the connection is active.
Exactly. They are checking the connection. Are we good? Yes, we are good. That's the entire transaction.
And the American mistake is assuming they want to download a file.
Precisely. You try to send them a 5-gigabyte file of your emotional state or your medical history. Well, actually, my back has been hurting and I didn't sleep well and I'm worried about this deadline.
And the Brit is horrified.
They are horrified because they just wanted an ACK and acknowledgement. They ask for a ping back, and you've started a massive data transfer they never requested and do not want.
It's an efficiency mismatch. It's a protocol error.
It is. The source material highlights the correct response, and it's very specific and rigid. John says the only correct answer is, yeah, good thanks, you.
That's it. No, actually, I'm having a rough day.
Absolutely not. That breaks the ritual. It shatters the social contract. The you all right greeting is a closed loop. You close it by saying, yeah, good, and then you move on to the actual conversation, if there is one.
And if you don't, you actually answer the question,
you're seen as a bit strange. Maybe you lack social awareness, or you're an oversharer. You failed the first and simplest test of British social interaction.
It's funny because the source contrasts this with the American version. John mentions that in the US we say, what's up, or how are you doing? And apparently that confuses Brits just as much.
Well, think about how are you doing from a British perspective. It sounds kind of intrusive.
Intrusive. Really, to me, it's the most generic greeting possible.
But it's an open-ended question. It invites a narrative. If I ask, how are you doing? Hi, I'm grammatically asking for a description of your state of being.
But no one expects a real answer.
An American doesn't, but a British person might take it more literally. To a reserved British person who maybe just wants to get a coffee, that feels like a lot of pressure. It feels like, why do you want to know? Are we close enough for me to tell you how I am doing?
So we see you all right as a criticism of our parents, and they see how are you doing as an invasion of privacy.
In a way, yes. It comes down to cultural values, I think. British culture often values what linguists call negative politeness, which is about respecting privacy and not imposing on others. Is perfect for that. It's minimal, it's quick, it asks nothing of you.
Yeah.
American culture often values positive politeness, showing interest, building rapport, being enthusiastic. How are you doing? Signals that interest, even if it's just a formula.
So the takeaway here for the listener is, don't check the mirror. If a Brit asks if you're all right, you don't look like a zombie.
You look fine. They're just pinging the server.
Just ping back and keep moving.
And for God's sake, don't send them the file.
Okay, so we've survived the greeting. We haven't embarrassed ourselves yet. But now we're going to ratchet up the stakes. We are moving from awkward social moments to potential career suicide.
We are entering section 2, the pissed danger zone.
This is one of those words where I feel like everyone kind of knows there's a difference, but they don't realize how dangerous it is until they are in the room.
It's a classic false friend. The word is identical, same spelling, same pronunciation. But the semantic fields don't just differ. They're almost opposites in terms of professional acceptability.
So let's define terms, just to be crystal clear. In the US, pissed is short for pissed off.
Which means angry, frustrated, annoyed, irritated.
And in the US, expressing that you are pissed about something, especially at work, can actually be a positive thing.
How so? That's interesting.
Well, think about the American corporate ethos. We value passion. We value ownership. If I say, I am so pissed that we lost that client, or I am pissed about these delays, I'm signaling that I care.
Yeah.
I'm signaling that I am emotionally invested in the success of the company. It's a bit aggressive, sure, but it's seen as a leadership trait in some circles. It shows you're not a passive observer.
That is a very, very American perspective. Now, let's look at the UK definition. In Britain, pissed means drunk.
And we need to be specific here. It's not just a glass of wine with dinner drunk.
Oh, no. It implies heavy intoxication, slurring your words, stumbling, losing control. It's not a subtle term. You are wasted. You are smashed.
So the source material gives us this scenario that plays out like a horror movie in my head. Emma describes an American speaking to a British boss.
Set the scene. It's Tuesday morning, the boardroom. There's coffee and pastries, but the mood is tense.
Right. Big project meeting. Something went wrong the night before. You have a server crash or a missed deadline. The American employee wants to show the British boss that they're taking this seriously.
They want to show that passion we talked about.
Exactly. They want to show initiative, so they lean in, they try to make a personal connection, look the boss in the eye.
Right, they see.
I was so pissed last night.
It's catastrophic. You can just feel the air leave the room.
The silence must be deafening. Imagine the boss's face. Just this slow motion confusion turning into, what? Disappointment. Disgust.
Because the boss isn't hearing, I was angry about the work, the boss is hearing, I was incredibly drunk last night.
On a Monday night.
Exactly. On a work night. And because of the context, the project failed. The boss is now connecting the dots. The project failed, and you were drunk.
You have just confessed, completely unprompted, to being negligent and unprofessional.
You've shifted your character archetype entirely. You think you're being the dedicated go-getter, but you've just cast yourself as the office party animal with a possible drinking problem.
The worst part is, the American has no idea. They are probably sitting there thinking, yeah, I really showed him how much I care. Meanwhile, the boss is mentally contacting HR.
And trying to figure out if this is a cry for help.
As Emma says in the source, that could definitely get you fired if you aren't careful. It's not an exaggeration.
It speaks to a deeper cultural difference, too, regarding emotional display in the workplace. Even if pissed meant angry in the UK, would it be as acceptable to say it to a boss?
That's a really good question. I feel like British work culture is generally more reserved, the stiff upper lip and all that.
It is. Stoicism is still a value. Coming in and declaring you are pissed, even in the American sense, might be seen as a lack of emotional control, a bit unprofessional. But declaring you are drunk, that's the end of the line.
It's a total violation. So the rule is simple. If you are in London, just delete the word pissed from your vocabulary.
Unless you are literally holding a pint of beer in a pub with friends.
Even then, be careful. As you said, it's a strong word. Maybe stick to tipsy or merry if you want to be polite.
Yes, merry is safe. Merry is charming.
Merry. I like that. It sounds like Christmas. Okay, let's move to section 3. This is about slang that carries hidden emotional weight. We have 2 examples here, one American phrase that scares Brits and one British phrase that sounds brutal to Americans.
The axis of aggression and exhaustion.
Let's start with the aggression. The phrase is, hit me up.
A staple of American casual communication. It's everywhere.
Completely. Hit me up later. Hit me up when you get there. It just means contact me. Text, call, email, send a message on social media. It is a very casual, low-pressure invitation to connect.
But words have histories. And they have literal meanings, and sometimes those literal meanings can't be ignored.
Right, and to a British ear, especially one that hasn't spent a lot of time consuming American media, the verb hit takes center stage.
John points this out in the source. He says it sounds physically aggressive. To a British ear, hit me up sounds like a command to strike someone.
Like punch me.
Or start a fight with me. It creates a vibe of confrontation. The up doesn't soften it. It almost makes it sound worse, like beat me up.
It's interesting because American slang is full of violent metaphors for positive things. We crush a presentation. We kill a performance. We target an audience.
We slay.
We slay. Hit me up fits right into that high-energy, slightly aggressive linguistic bucket.
That's a great observation. American English is often very kinetic and forceful. British English, by comparison, often leans towards understatement and passivity. So when you throw a phrase like, hit me up, into a polite British conversation, it lands like a grenade.
It just changes the whole vibe from friendly to threatening instantly. But then we have the reverse. The British word that sounds incredibly harsh to American ears. Knackered.
I am absolutely knackered.
Now, I know what this means intellectually. It means tired. Exhausted.
Dizzy.
But the sound of it, the phonetics of it are so violent to me.
Let's analyze that. It has that hard KN start. Even though the K is silent, the knack sound is sharp. And then the erd at the end, it sounds guttural. It sounds final.
It sounds like bones breaking or machinery grinding to a halt and then collapsing.
Well, the etymology is quite grim. It comes from the knacker's yard.
Oh, I don't think I know this. What's a knacker's yard?
The knacker's yard is the place where old, worn-out horses were taken to be processed, to be slaughtered and rendered down for their parts, like glue and leather.
Oh, wow. That's really dark.
It is. So when you say I am knackered, you are literally saying I am like an old horse that is ready to be turned into glue.
That is incredibly dark. And yet they say it so casually.
They do. And that is why John calls it a great word, very expressive. It conveys a level of bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion that a simple word like tired just doesn't touch.
Tired is, I need a nap. Knackered is, I need to be put out of my misery.
Exactly. It carries so much emotional weight, and that is what this section of the source material is really about. Slang isn't just about replacing one word for another, like cookie for biscuit.
Right.
It's about the flavor of the word. Knackered adds a flavor of total depletion and dark humor. Hit me up adds a flavor of casual, kinetic aggression.
And if you don't know the flavor, you spoil the dish. You can cause real confusion.
Beautifully put.
So we've mastered the greeting, which is just a TCP/IP ping. We've avoided the piss trap and saved our careers. We understand the violence of hit me up and the existential despair of knackered.
A good day's work.
But now, Now we face the final boss.
Section 4. The final boss, level dialects and density.
The source material shifts gears here in a really important way. We move from individual words, from vocabulary to sound, to the music of the language. And this is where things get really, really difficult for the learner.
And for the native speaker, frankly, this is not just a problem for outsiders.
The source draws a fascinating contrast between the geography of the US and the UK. We all know the US has accents. A New Yorker doesn't sound like a Texan. Someone from Boston sounds different from someone from Minnesota.
True, but think about the scale. You can drive from Ohio to Nebraska, that is a massive distance, hundreds and hundreds of miles, and the accent shifts are subtle. They exist, but they are gradients. It's a slow fade.
But in the UK?
The UK is linguistically dense. John notes that you can drive 30 minutes in England, just 30 minutes, and the accent changes completely, not just a little bit, but fundamentally.
Why is that? Why is it so packed together?
Well, it's history. It's time. You have to remember that for 1,000 years, people in Britain didn't move much. You were born in a village, you lived in that village, you died in that village. Dialects had centuries to stew in isolation, like little linguistic petri dishes.
That makes so much sense.
The US, by contrast, is a nation of movement, of expansion. We mixed our accents together as we moved west. Britain is a collection of ancient, isolated pockets of sound.
So you have these deep, deep roots. The source lists a few specific examples that are famously difficult. Geordie, Scouse, Cockney, Glaswegian.
And we aren't just talking about a slight twang or a different vowel here. We are talking about fundamentally different sounds, different vocabularies, different cadences.
Let's take Scouse, the Liverpool accent. To my ear, it sounds like a roller coaster. It's very melodic.
It is. It has a very specific melody, a rising and falling intonation at the end of sentences. But it also has very harsh guttural sounds. The K sound in Scouse is almost like clearing your throat. It's a very distinct sound.
And then you have Geordie from Newcastle.
Which is almost a different language. I'm not really exaggerating. It retains words from the Anglo-Saxon settlers that the rest of England lost centuries ago. It's like a time capsule. Someone from London might genuinely not understand a broad Geordie speaker.
And then there's the famous Cockney, or the modern estuary English that you hear around London.
Where the letter T goes to die.
Yes, water instead of water. The glottal stop.
It's the glottal stop. It's distinct. But here is the final boss element the source talks about. It's not just that they are different. It's that they are hard to decode even for other Brits.
This was the most validating part of the transcript for me. John, a British man, born and raised, admits that he sometimes has to ask people from Glasgow to slow down.
That is the native speaker test. If a native speaker needs subtitles for their own countrymen, you, the learner, are completely off the hook. You don't need to feel bad about being confused.
It really challenges the idea of the British accent. You know, in Hollywood, directors always say, give me a British accent.
Which usually means a posh, villainous RP accent spoken by someone like Alan Rickman.
Exactly. But in reality, there is no single British accent. It's a choir of hundreds of different voices, some of which can't understand each other. It's a mosaic.
And that leads to a very practical problem for anyone trying to learn English or just function in the UK for work or travel.
Which brings us to Section 5, strategies for the learner. How do we actually cope with this? How do you survive the final boss?
The source material is brutally honest here. The first thing you have to do is throw away your textbook.
Emma goes hard on this. She says textbooks teach received pronunciation, or general American.
RP received pronunciation is the Queen's English. It's the BBC News anchor voice from the 1950s. It is clear, clipped, precise, and almost nobody speaks it in real life anymore. It's a class signifier for a tiny, tiny fraction of the population.
It's like learning Latin to visit Italy. You'll understand the signs, but you won't understand the people.
That's a great way to put it. If you walk into a pub in Newcastle expecting everyone to sound like Hugh Grant, you are going to be completely hopelessly lost. Real life is messy, as Emma says.
So strategy number 1 is immersion. But not just any immersion. It has to be targeted.
Right. You can't just listen to the BBC World Service. The news is sanitized. It's designed to be understood internationally. You need to train your ear to the variety. The advice is to listen to podcasts from different regions.
So if you're moving to Manchester,
listen to a podcast about Manchester United. Listen to a local radio show from Manchester Online. Listen to a comedy show from Scotland if you're going to Glasgow.
You have to expose your brain to the data so it can start recognizing the patterns. It's like training an AI.
Exactly. It's about calibration. You have to tune your ear to the right frequency.
Strategy number 2 is one that I struggle with. The subtitle trap.
Ah, yes, the safety net. We all love subtitles.
But Emma warns, don't trust subtitles implicitly.
This is a subtle but really important point. Subtitles are often written for an international audience. They prioritize clear meaning over cultural flavor.
Can you give an example?
Well, imagine a character in a British show, maybe from London, uses a very specific piece of local slang. Maybe they greet someone with "watcha," which is an old Cockney greeting. The subtitle might just say hello.
You get the plot, but you lose the culture.
You lose the why. You miss the fact that the character is signaling they're working class or from a specific part of London, or that they have a certain kind of informal relationship with the person they're talking to. You get a sanitized, flattened version of the interaction.
It just strips out all the nuance.
It does. So the strategy is to try watching without them, or at least be aware that what you are reading is a translation, even if it's technically in English.
Now, strategy number 3 is the big one. This is the controversial one, maybe. Code switching.
Code switching is simply adapting your language to fit your environment. And we all do it all the time. You speak differently to your grandmother than you do to your friends.
Of course.
But the source material has a flashing red warning light here. A golden rule.
Do not fake the accent.
Please don't try to fake a British accent. It usually sounds terrible. That is a direct quote from John.
And it is universally true. There's something deeply cringeworthy about an American putting on a fake British accent in a serious setting. It's just painful to witness.
It is. Why do you think that is? Is it just that we're bad at it?
I think that's part of it, but it also feels like mockery. It feels like a caricature. It suggests you aren't taking them seriously, or that you treat their identity as a costume you can just put on.
That's a very good point. It's condescending.
So how do we code switch without the funny voice?
You change the software, not the hardware. You change the vocabulary, not the pronunciation.
Give me the tactical examples, the day-to-day stuff.
If you are in London, you make a conscious choice to say lift instead of elevator. You ask for the bill at a restaurant instead of the check. You look for the bin instead of the trash can. You stand in a queue, not a line.
But you say them in your own American accent.
Yes, perfectly normal American accent. Excuse me, where is the lift? Not, hello, governor, where's the lift?
Right, definitely not that.
It's about efficiency and respect. John calls it building bridges. When you use their words, you are signaling, I am a guest in your house, and I am playing by your rules. It shows effort.
There is also a practical aspect. I've had this happen, asking for the check in a UK restaurant.
What happened?
The waiter looked confused. He thought I wanted to check something like check my coat or check on the food. The word didn't land. Bill is unambiguous. You say bill, you get the bill.
Exactly. It just greases the wheels of daily life. But this brings up an interesting psychological phenomenon that I think the source hints at, the uncanny valley of fluency.
Go on.
When you code switch perfectly, when you use all the right words, lift, pavement, bill, jumper, trousers, you sometimes create a new problem for yourself.
How?
You sound so natural that the British person you're talking to forgets you aren't British.
And then they stop filtering.
Exactly. They speed up, they use deeper slang, they reference cultural touchstones you won't get, they stop making allowances for you being a foreigner. You essentially talk your way into a level of difficulty you aren't ready for.
That is such a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You fit in so well that you can no longer understand what's happening.
It's the paradox of proficiency. But it's still better than being the loud American demanding the check and complaining about the elevator.
Agreed. Now, even if you follow all these rules, you ping the server, you avoid pissed, you say lift, you are going to mess up.
You are. It is inevitable. It's a guarantee.
Which brings us to section 6, embracing the mistakes. And we have to end with the single greatest, most catastrophic vocabulary mistake an American can make in the UK.
The fanny pack incident.
We have to talk about it.
We must. It is a rite of passage for American travelers.
So in the US, a fanny pack is a harmless, if slightly unfashionable, utilitarian object. It is a pouch on a belt. It's for tourists, hikers, dads at Disney World.
And the word fanny in America is a childish, innocuous term for your rear end, your buttocks. Sit on your fanny. It's something a kindergarten teacher would say. It's almost cute.
But in the UK?
In the UK, fanny does not mean buttocks. It refers specifically and vulgarly to female genitalia.
And not in a medical, anatomical way.
No, it is coarse slang. It is rude.
So imagine the scene. You are a wholesome American tourist in London. You are standing in a crowded shop or maybe a security line at the airport, and you loudly ask, "Has anyone seen my fanny pack?"
Or even worse, I keep my valuables in my fanny pack.
Oh no, it's a social atom bomb.
The reaction is instantaneous. Anyone under the age of 60 will start laughing. Older people might look genuinely shocked and offended. You have effectively just announced that you have a bag for your car. Well, you get it.
It's the ultimate social banana peel. You think you are being practical. They think you are being shockingly obscene.
It creates a massive status drop. In that moment, you go from respected visitor to clueless, vulgar tourist.
So what is the British term, just to save our listeners from this fate?
Bum bag.
Bum bag, which sounds funny to Americans because bum can mean a homeless person.
True, but in the UK, bum is the common, fairly polite word for rear end, so bum bag is the safe, polite term. Or you could say waste bag if you want to be totally neutral and formal.
But this all leads to the wonderful philosophy that Emma and John end on, the philosophy of failure.
I love this part of the source material. They argue that you shouldn't live in fear of these mistakes.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. People will correct you, you will survive.
And most importantly, you will have a funny story to tell.
That is such a healthy mindset. The embarrassment is temporary, but the story is forever. The awkwardness is the price of admission to a new culture.
Language is described in the source as a living thing. It isn't a static code in a book. It's messy, it evolves, it trips you up. The differences, fanny packs versus bum bags, sidewalk versus pavement, are what make it fun. They are what make it rich.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. The source material ends with this lovely image. Whether you are drinking coffee on the sidewalk, American style, or tea on the pavement, British style, you are part of this massive, shared, chaotic experiment of the English language.
And notice the pairing there. Sidewalk, pavement. Even in the goodbye, the distinction remains, reminding you to stay alert.
So let's wrap this up. We have covered a lot of ground today.
We have. We've decoded the greetings, dodged the firing squad of pissed, navigated the hidden violence of hit me up, and survived the final boss of dialects.
And we learned that the goal isn't to be a spy. You don't need to fool them into thinking you're British. That's not the point.
No, the goal is connection. It's about removing the static from the line so you can actually hear the person on the other end. It's about showing respect.
Before we go, I want to leave the listener with a final thought. We talked about code switching, changing your words to fit in, saying bill instead of check.
Right. The software change.
It makes me wonder,
Yeah.
if we change our vocabulary to fit in, does our personality change slightly too?
That is a profound question. The old Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, right? The idea that the language you speak affects how you think.
Are you a slightly different person when you ask for the bill? Does the word itself carry a different energy? A bit more polite, maybe? A bit more formal? Or does the American check carry an energy of speed and efficiency that we lose?
When you stand in a queue instead of a line, do you become a little more patient, a little more orderly? Does the mask eventually become the face?
Something to mull over the next time you're crossing the Atlantic. Just remember, don't mention the fanny pack, and for God's sake, don't tell your boss you're pissed.
Words to live by.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.